I'm Lisa, and you're with Velo Dulce, the show where we talk women, cycling, and life. Velo Dulce is from the Italian phrase La vita dolce, which means the good life. These are stories from women around the world on finding the good life through life on a bicycle. Hey everyone, my guest today is my good friend Shanel Munger. She is a learning manager at the South African Reserve Bank. She's also a TEDx speaker and spoke Mindfulness at Work, a superpower to boost productivity and well-being earlier this year. She's a phenomenal cyclist with a passion for the sport, despite having a full-time demanding career, partner, and I'm not sure, 1 or 2 fluffy children. And we have been friends for many years, and I have always been inspired by her work. And so that is why I wanted to host her on the show. Thanks. Thanks, Brandy, for joining me.
Awesome. Thanks, Lisa. It's a privilege to be here and chat to you.
Last month on the show, I spoke about leveling up, and I thought this was like a good point to start the conversation, because if you have not listened to the show before, like, I've hosted a lot of professional female athletes. I talk to a lot of them. I started the show because I thought, oh, these were special humans who didn't belong my like normal category of the human that I put myself into. And as I discovered, they all had their own story and had overcome circumstance. And it's interesting to me because I see 2 types of women, and I don't know what you think about this. I see women who like continuously underestimate themselves, don't put themselves out there, undermine their own ability to do anything. And then I see women at the other end, like the A-type of the A-type, like A-type to the level X, who never rest, who never take 5 seconds out, who are continuously pushing to the next level. And I do think there's like a happy place in between that. I don't know what you think.
I really resonate with what you're saying, because I think I've played in both fields in my life.
Yeah.
Definitely early on in my career, I was definitely that low self-confidence, underestimate myself. That's not for me. That's for somebody else. Imposter syndrome. And then it's definitely been a lifetime of work. I'm not that old, but really my personal journey has been that journey of how do I find my own voice? How do I, because I am ambitious, but underestimate myself and my own worst enemy in terms of sabotaging myself and my own career. And it was really a journey of finding my unconditional self-worth and my unconditional value and my voice, and actually having that thing of, I want to be seen, I want to be heard, I have a gift, I want to share, I want to add value and contribute. And I am an A-type personality. So that definitely pushed me to expand my comfort zone. Doing the TED Talk on mindfulness was one of them. And yeah, finding that balance of being able to achieve and be successful and yet still maintaining your well-being, your joyful life. It's definitely been something that's been an ebb and flow in my life.
I will share the link for those of you who are listening to that TED Talk. I highly recommend it. This subject to me is very interesting because I also find myself in those 2 categories. And apart from stages of life, like, I can often find myself in one of those 2 places. And I'm like, can these 2 humans actually coexist peacefully together and to come into one balanced Lisa? Is that actually possible, that we can be productive and well at the same time?
I love that question. And you're just reminding me of, I did a masterclass today actually on the power of rest. And I was talking a little bit about Arianna Huffington's story. So I don't know how many of you guys know her. She's she's a really successful author of multiple books. She's written a book on sleep. She's written a book on Thrive. She's a co-founder of the Huffington Post. And she's also the CEO of a company called Thrive Global. And it really is like a corporate well-being company. And I was telling her story. So she had a massive wake-up call in 2007. And at that time, she was divorced, a mother of 2 teenage daughters, and she was in the foundational stages of building her company when she collapsed from exhaustion. She literally fell down, collapsed. She passed out. She broke her cheekbone in the fall, and she literally woke up alone in a pool of her own blood. And At that time, the doctors diagnosed her with burnout. And she says when you hear some of her interviews or read any of her books, she's that day completely changed her life. And she asked herself, is this what success looks like? Is this really what success looks like? And the epiphany she came to was that she didn't have to put work before her family or friends or her marriage. She didn't have to be on her smartphone from the time she woke up in the morning right until she went to bed at night. She didn't have to eat the majority of the meals at her desk, like we're prone to do. She didn't have to fly overnight to Europe on her birthday because that's what work demanded. She realized that she could define corporate success on her own terms and live a much better version of her personal life and well-being. And I love what she says, and I think it speaks to the point that you're mentioning, Lisa, this concept of like work-life balance. And she says for her, it's not about finding balance between our work lives and our personal lives. And we often hear, I'm guilty of saying, oh, I'm just trying to find work-life balance. And she says that whole concept is actually completely inadequate because the fundamental premise that it's built on is completely wrong. So if you read any of her work, she's work and rest, work and well-being, productivity and rest. They're not on opposite sides. They're not competing against each other. They don't need to be balanced. They're on the same side and they actually rise in tandem. So if you increase one, you increase the other. There's nothing to balance. If you increase rest, your productivity goes along with it. It's a win-win for both your work and your life. So she often talks about how can we constantly recharge ourselves? So taking like little breaks in between, taking active rest so that we approach both of them from a work and a life balance. And we come to our full life with an empty cup. Sorry, not an empty cup. The opposite, with a full cup. Instead of running on depletion, how do we fill our cup all the time? I thought that was quite a nice little, just her thinking about that work-life balance. Because I know it's a paradox that so many of us struggle with.
I was doing some research recently because I wrote an article for G2 on workplace productivity. And I was doing research for the article and I came across something which spoke about like when you are not working, your brain is actually still cognitively functioning. And so you are still solving problems, even though you might not think you are, which is why we so often have these great magical ideas when we are riding our bicycles or doing something awesome like walking the dogs or just lying on the couch. And it's all so strange to me how we discount rest, and I want to ask you about that now. But the other thing that was interesting to me in researching for the article was around how often we say we don't have enough time, but actually we waste a lot of time spending time on the wrong things. So it's not that we don't have enough time, it's that we spend a whole lot of time on a whole lot of bullshit, and then we don't have enough time.
Yep.
And then we don't let ourselves rest because like we're in this kind of circle phase. Like, how does rest play out for you?
Oh, that's such a loaded question. Ooh. Can I answer in 2 parts?
Sure.
So the first one about I love what you said about we often discount rest. And we see rest as the opposite of work when we're talking about the opposite of work-life balance. And we don't see that rest has an innate value in itself. And I often like to use the metaphor of like in life, if you view yourself as a corporate athlete. It's one of the metaphors I love to use. If you look at any of the elite professionals, the elite sports people, they really understand the value of rest and recovery and performance. In fact, if we talk about sport, it's an arena where performance and winning are absolutely everything. And for professional athletes, there's nothing soft about well-being or self-care. It's about what works, and it's about winning, and it's about performing.
Sure.
And we can really learn a lot from elite athletes because they demonstrate how rest and active recovery and recharge are actually the ultimate performance enhancers. And I love, for those, I don't always follow basketball, but I know, what's his name? LeBron James. He's like one of the ultimate, people say, greatest basketball players of all time. And when he was interviewed by ESPN, he always said that he talked quite vocally about the importance of rest and recovery in his career and ultimately his prolonged career success. And one of his quotes was, "I've always understood the importance of rest. I understand that rest equals recovery, and recovery equals being able to perform at a high level." And he said he really paid close attention to both how his body was feeling and to prioritize rest and to avoid burnout. And he used like active recovery techniques like ice baths, stretching, massages to help him maintain his performance. And I think as corporate athletes, we can really learn a lot from that, the value placed on rest in order to be able to perform. And then your second question about not having enough time and spending time on the wrong things, I really resonate with that because I've recently read a book by Helen Nicholson on mindfulness. Yes. She's actually South African as well. Yes. And her book is Mindfulness, How to Stay Sane in Insane Times. And for me, she talks about, she quotes Earl and she says, if you're serious about sustained high performance, recovery is not optional, it's a must. And one of the really cool tips she gives, she talks about recovery rituals. And she says, we have such an outdated paradigm that rest is about sleep or recovery is our annual holiday. And we never actually really prioritize rest and recovery in itself. And she said what really helped her with this concept of, I don't have enough time to rest. And then we only actually rest when we're feeling burnt out or really exhausted. And then we're like forced to because we get sick. She writes in her book this metaphor and she says, imagine your recovery as a yearbook where your days are sentences, your weeks are paragraphs, your months are chapters, and your year is a book. And she says, if you look at your days or sentences, what is that full stop at the end of the day that you're giving yourself? And that can be anything. It can be physically closing your laptop and putting it into a drawer if you work from home. It can be after your last meeting, putting on your pajamas or taking a bath. Because we all know if you're in meetings, like lots of us are on Zoom and MS Team meetings back to back most of the day, you have a hard stop. When your meeting's about to end, you guys, I'm so sorry, I've got a hard stop at 2:30. I've got to jump onto my next call. So what is your hard stop at the end of the day? And then what is your hard stop at the end of the week, at the end of the month, and at the end of the year? And she goes so far as to say, looking at your thing as a year, one of her friends, he gets an annual calendar and he looks at like, when are all the public holidays for the next year? And then he intentionally in his diary plans those three-day long weekends, those long weekends, and he schedules them in his diary in advance. So it's not about work dictating his schedule now. At the beginning of the year in January, he logs his leave as much as possible. He even books and pays up front for accommodation. So like he intentionally takes control of his recovery and prioritizes it. So that's like intentionally making time for it. Yeah. And I was really inspired by that because often we're so like, we'll take a weekend when we need it and we never like schedule it in. So yeah, prioritizing. Yeah,
that's super cool. I must say, one of the things I have learned in Spain is the Spanish culture take rest and enjoyment of life quite seriously. Like one of the first things that occurred to me when I came here is that, and of course, I don't think it's like this in Madrid or Barcelona, but you will never see someone walking in the street and eating here. Never. It's like It's not done. In fact, the other day I walked to the bakery because I was so hungry. I forgot my lunch at home and I bought, like, they make this delicious bread thing with like pizza topping, and I was so hungry. I was standing at the robot, like, and I took a bite, and this lady looked at me and was like, "This is not the table." It was like, "Okay, I'm sorry." So I love, you don't eat and work. It is not done. And I don't work for a Spanish company. I work for a Belgian company, but obviously because I live here, like, my norms are dictated by my environment. And it's something that really struck me. It's like, it's just not done. And they also plan their holidays like months in advance. We're taking this time, and they always joke with me. I think I also never realized how hard South Africans work until I came here, because they always are like, "Lisa, you always working." And I'm like, "Really?" It never even occurred to me. So yeah, I love that. Okay, we have to rest, and I agree, like, rest doesn't have to be sleep. For me, I take a 20-minute coffee break during my day, and I go outside or I meet a friend or something, and that can be rest. Let's talk about integrating other things into your life. You and I both love cycling. How does that come into the mix?
Awesome. So cycling is definitely one of my biggest passions. I have to say, cycling and yoga. And in South Africa, it's winter at the moment. So during the week training, it's cold and dark. So I'm on my indoor trainer. So I cannot say I'm enjoying it very much. But the weekends are splendid. And I must say, I live for getting out into the fresh air and feeling that breeze against your face and meeting your tribe of people and your friends and chatting as you cycle. Yeah, cycling for me is very much about, yes, the well-being and the fitness, but also the social and the friendships and the coffee afterwards. If I don't have a coffee after my cycle, I'm like, no.
Oh, no. Then,
what was the point?
I'm not going if there's not coffee after.
Yeah, so I'm definitely a weekend warrior cyclist, but yeah, it's added so much pleasure and so much joy to my life, being able to cycle and all the friendships I've made through cycling, of which you are one of them.
Yeah, we met. How did we meet? I'm trying to remember. Did we
I'm
meet?
sure it was through cycling.
Yeah, we met through cycling, but was it at a race or?
Yes, it was a race for victory. The start of Race for Victory.
Wow,
that's amazing. Yeah.
Listen, if you are listening to the show and you do not cycle, please get yourself a bicycle. You will find, I've always said, for me, cycling has opened doors I could never have imagined. Like, you will find a whole world of wellness.
Yes.
So how do you fit it in? If that's even a leading question, like fitting it in.
How do I fit in cycling?
Yeah. How do you prioritize? Because I know a lot of women who have families who will be like, I just don't have time.
Yeah.
Never mind cycling, like gym or whatever.
Yeah. So for me, because I know it's so important for my well-being, for me, I really do intentionally prioritize it. And I've gone through a period of my life where I felt really burnt out and really exhausted. And I really put a few things in my life that are like non-negotiable. And for me, like exercise is really one of them because it makes me feel so good. And I know if I go through 2 or 3 weeks, if I'm sick or something and I can't cycle or I can't do yoga, I start to feel like, yucky.
Yeah.
I'm missing the endorphins of cycling. So for me, it's because I know how good it makes me feel. And because I enjoy it so much, it comes easily to prioritize it. And I think it helps, like having friends who cycle. So, if you are getting lazy, like in winter when it's cold and it's dark, you've got your friendie who calls you up and be like, hey, we're meeting 7 a.m., see you on your bike. So I think it does help, having friends as well. And my
Yeah.
partner, Kurt, I mean, he loves cycling. I always say if he wasn't sharing a bed with me, he would share a bed with his bicycle.
That is true. That is true. He has done how many thousands of kilometers this year
Oh my
already?
gosh. Yeah,
I
it's
mean,
crazy.
sometimes I look at his Strava profile. I'm like, really, Kurt?
Yeah, so he's definitely an inspiration for me too.
I would have to say that you are an inspiration for me, because don't listen to Shanel. Don't think she's like some kind of weekend warrior. No, like I am a weekend warrior. Like Shanel is like semi-pro in a weekend warrior disguise. She's definitely, you have done so many amazing things on a bicycle. What is your favorite memory?
Ooh, my favorite one must be when I actually fell in love with Kurt, my past partner. So we were doing a charity ride over 10 days. We were cycling from Johannesburg to Durban and then from Durban to Cape Town. So every day we were cycling between 160 and 300 kilometers. And I noticed him before, but not too much. And over those 10 days when the suffering was real and all you're doing is really eat, sleep, cycle, repeat, yeah, suddenly we blossomed into a romance. And just that simplicity of eat, sleep, and cycling. It's like the rest of the world falls away and we cycled through the most beautiful, from like mountain scenery to beach scenery to rural villages. It was just such a beautiful cycling trip and definitely one of the highlights of my cycling career.
Ah, that's amazing. That's amazing. Yeah, and I want to bring that back to well-being. What is your definition? Because you've highlighted a few things there. You've highlighted within cycling, like, okay, obviously the physical endorphins, but you've highlighted social, you've highlighted enjoyment, you've highlighted romance and relationships. Like, how does that fit into your definition of well-being?
I think that's such a great question because I think well-being is personal to everyone. So I don't think there's a magic black and white definition of well-being. For me, and I think even in my own life, it changes as I go through seasons in my life. It's for me, well-being is a mix of living your purpose with a sprinkle of spirituality and a sprinkle of like joy and happiness and what feels good. If that was like a recipe, and those kind of ingredients kind of change like over time. So
I love that. I love that. And what is your, you have always to me been a purpose-focused individual, like nothing you do is without purpose. What is your mission? Sounds daunting, but it isn't because you live it anyway. But what is your mission on the planet?
So my corporate day job is learning and development and leadership development. And for me, close to my heart is really about how can I help others to liberate their potential. So yeah, at the real core of my purpose, it's about helping others to liberate their potential.
And I, for one, don't believe you can live your potential without accessing well-being as a cornerstone, as a fundamental. Okay. Top five must-have hacks for wellness.
5 hacks. Oh, you're putting me on the spot here. So I think if I had to say the foundation of my top 5 that kind of underpins everything in wellness for me, and it's something that I've only really discovered over the past 2-3 years, is mindfulness. And I know there are tons of different definitions of mindfulness out there. And for me, like at its simplest, it's just about being consciously present in what I'm doing while I'm doing it. I have a horrible ability to multitask, and COVID was terrible at that when you're on online meetings and your camera's off and you're doing emails and you're on your phone. So for me, when I started getting into mindfulness and being really present, it just added such a new dimension to my wellness and my well-being. And I actually went on a transcendental meditation course program. It was over 6 months. And for me, that just opened up just such another dimension of being able to sit for a few minutes and just still your mind through meditation. For me, it's just really a powerful tool for me that's made a difference to my well-being. And then some other hacks, I would definitely say well-being for me, I do need like digital detox and digital breaks. I'm like very connected. The work I do, it's a lot of online meetings, a hybrid of in-person, but often on my cell phone answering emails. You can go down a rabbit hole with TikTok, all this stuff. So for me, like I can spend like a very unproductive 45 minutes getting lost in social media, and I can feel my well-being and my happiness levels go like after that.
Yeah.
So definitely one of my well-being hacks is to put my cell phone in my drawer. And what I like to do is from 6 p.m. in the evening until I'm just about to go to bed, and just leave it there and just be without technology and without constant messaging and WhatsApp and pings. And I find that really works for me. Just from a well-being point of view, it helps me to be present, stops multitasking. I can cook dinner without checking my phone every 5 seconds. So yeah, that's definitely one. I know you said 5. Let me see what's...
That's okay. Name your tops.
I think probably my third one, and probably I'll end on this one, is for me, breath. It's such a simple thing. And what I love about it is you can do it anywhere, anytime, while you're driving and getting irritated, when you're in a meeting, when you're in line in the grocery store, and just that power of taking a really deep breath and a long exhale. There's something that just brings you back to the magic of the moment. It calms you down. I mentioned I'm an 8-time personality, so I can get a bit like, woo.
Don't breathe.
You know?
Yeah.
So for me, the power of breath, just anchoring myself in my breath is really being for my wellness. And I think that kind of links to yoga. I think I learned a lot of the breathing techniques through yoga. And for me, it's really helped me manage my strength, access my strength, but manage my stress in a helpful way. Yeah.
Yeah, amazing. I also love cycling for that because you don't look at your phone for 4 hours and you are forced to breathe, which
whether you like it or not, up that hill.
Like it or not. And many of us don't breathe. Like I do not breathe because I often hold my breath, and I am like, I live life at 10 million miles per hour. So yeah, I get that too. It's funny that you speak about social media because I started this habit here. So I wake up in the morning, I get on my Spanish app and I do 2 lessons of Spanish, and then I go to gym. But the 2 lessons are short. It's 12 minutes. But I wake up at the exact time so that I don't leave myself enough time to go onto social media. Because if I go into social media, I won't be able to go to gym. And then and I did it once. Like I lost like 40 minutes of my life, and then I never went to gym, and then I had a shit day, and then I was miserable, and I was like, I'm never doing that again. Yeah, so true. Cool. If you had to swap cycling for something else except yoga?
Did you have to say except yoga?
Yeah, except yoga.
I love walking in nature. So like we've got some beautiful hiking trails here. We've got botanical gardens. So if I didn't cycle, I think it would be a slash between running and hiking and just walks out in nature. I love being out in nature.
Yeah. Nature is an instant mood booster.
Happy drug.
One last question I want to ask you. Any upcoming missions or for on the bicycle?
So in South Africa, we have a race called Amashova in Durban. And so we are doing, Kurt and I are riding down to Durban. So I think we're doing it over 4 days. and we're going to be riding down and then taking part in the Amashova race. So that is my inspiration for keeping fit in the cold, dark winter months.
Nice.
And my next cycling challenge.
I love it. I love it. Thank you for taking the time to chat to us today. As I mentioned, I will share the link, and keep up the amazing work.
Awesome. Thanks so much, my friend. It was an honor to be on your podcast. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. I hope you have been as inspired as I have on today's episode of Velo Dulce. Please share with a friend, rate on iTunes, and most importantly, get on your bicycle, grab a friend, drink some coffee, and here is to living Velo Dulce.